freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your recap episode for this week's Rocket Mortgage Classic. A doozy, a Detroit doozy. Greg DuCharme is here to help me break it all down. Hello, Greg.
Nice, Rick. I mean, it was a doozy, and you can't go with this one without saying what a week. I mean, I did not predict much of this taking place. You think about the way these scores were looking heading into Sunday, and I was thinking it was going to take somewhere around 22 under to win, maybe a playoff at 21 under. We were kind of leaning towards playoff yesterday, and none of that happened. This was quite an interesting day.
You could have gotten a lot of money out of me with 18 under being the outright win. I would have bet anything it'd be deeper under par than that.
Yeah, no way, right? There's no way 18 under wins outright in this tournament.
We had two guys. The lead was 17 under last night.
Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, a major championship broke out. It was it played a lot more difficult. I think scoring average was right around even par for the day.
That's what I saw.
Slightly under 71.920. So right around even par. A lot more difficult than we saw any of the previous 3 days. The par fives were playing into the wind. The golf course played a whole lot longer. Much cooler out in the temperatures. And then you, of course, have, leaderboard gravity, which you always expect to have. But I still didn't see it going like this.
The final two groups, so 4 golfers, combined to play at Detroit Golf Club at 1 under.
Combined.
And one of them won it.
And only one of them was over par. 73 was the worst score.
Yeah, it was really crazy. Listen, we're going to add, Kyle probably had to rewrite his entire article, so he'll be here in a couple of minutes when he gets done with that. We are going to try to attack this the best way possible. So let's do this, Greg. Let's start with a couple of the big movers who were not part of that big 4 that we came into the day with. So Davis Thompson will start there. Opened up the week 68-69, closed it 66-68. He finished at 17 under par, which ended up being in a 4-way tie for second. But Davis and Greg, I'm sure we've talked about this ad nauseum the last couple of weeks, starting to find his footing, had a top 10 at the US Open. He made a charge late on Sunday. He fell 1 shot out of a potential playoff.
Yeah, and surprisingly, 68 was the second lowest round of the day. Solo second. There was only 168. There was 167, which was fired by Rico Hoey. But ultimately, Davis Thompson shoots the second best round of the day. I tell you what, Rick, watching this guy it's really fun because he is really impressive. He smashes it off the tee. His golf swing is so pure. And he's got a ton of confidence. And he was all over the flag sticks in this final round, which was really quite fun to watch. I mean, he shoots the second best round of the day and is basically a level putter. He did it all with ball striking. He was third off the tee. He was second approaching the green, hit 15 of 18 greens, and gave himself a number of looks inside of that 15-foot area. So I loved watching Davis Thompson play today. I know he was one of your early season long fantasy golf picks.
Yeah,
it's what you saw and what I would have agreed with you in the fall is starting to show through this summer.
Yeah, off to just a slightly slow start, but I stuck with him, and he's now paying dividends right now. He picked up 7.5 strokes ball striking for the week. Greg pointed out his ranks for Sunday's final round. Min Woo Lee, he also finished at 17 under par. He also finished in that 4-way tie for second. He was one of the pre-tournament favorites, Greg, and look at this scorecard. Maybe this one feels, especially with how it ended, the one that got away, because 1 shot out of a potential playoff. He doubled the par 5 7th. He then bogeyed 18, the 72nd hole, to drop to 17 under.
This is agonizing. Okay. Now, I think from this point on, everybody we talk about, with the exception of our eventual champion, we could very easily say they should have won by 3 or 5. Min-Woo Lee is one of those. I mean, so he makes a double on 7 today that is just simply inexcusable. He's got 89 yards from the right rough.
Yeah.
I make double from there. I mean, I get it. If you can't get it close to make birdie, I get that. He misses the green, chips it up to 6 feet, and 3 putts from there.
Yep.
3 putts from 6 feet. It's his second double bogey of the week. So this was one of the easiest holes on the golf course all week long. He makes double there. He makes double at 8. There were only 2 doubles for the whole week on the 8th hole. He did that on Friday because he hit a tee shot out of bounds. And it just leaves you feeling like, what if? And not only that, he makes bogey at 18. He's at 18 under. 18 under wins outright. Hits it over the green with his second shot. Makes bogey from there. On number 12, he had 4 feet for birdie. I think it was 3 feet 7 inches, and he missed that one. Could have been. Now look, he shoots 69, so that's what, 2 shots off the round of the day. It's a very good round of golf, but it could have been and should have been the round of the day by a mile without doing anything different. Without anything being spectacular. Without doing anything spectacular, this is the round of the day. He played phenomenal golf and just made a couple silly mistakes that cost him the tournament. Yeah,
they all add up, and he probably in no way thought 17 under or 18 under might have been good enough when the dust settled. Yeah. But that's the case. Couple of mistakes throughout the week, couple on Sunday. That'll get you. So that is Min-Woo and Davis Thompson, part of that 4-way tie for second. Here's what I think we're going to do. We've got to cover these last 4, the final 2 groups, all together. So what I'll do is I'll take an early break here. We'll circle back with those 4. We'll do the best bets. We'll do all the fun stuff. So Harry, take us to break.
An unsub, a seasoned one. And he's leaving a calling card.
How do we find a ghost? I have a plan.
And we're back. The big 4, remember, entered the day. Akshay Bhatia, Aaron Rai tied for the lead. 1 shot back were the Cams, Young and Davis. I'm not even really sure what order I want to run these out in here, Greg, but let's roll with Cam Young. He was the worst of the 4. He played this golf course at 1 over 73. And that does not even begin to tell the story of Cam Young. He did not play well. He was spraying it all over the yard. So much, in fact, that I believe it was on the 13th tee. Is that the right hole?
I think that's the hole.
He, leaned on his driver in a very frustrated manner and snapped it. So now he's got to play the final 5 holes without the best club in his bag, trying to win for the first time on the PGA Tour. And this was just oozing of frustration basically the entire day.
Oh, so, all right. This is the funny thing about Cam Young. He had the lefts. He had a serious case of the lefts going on. You see there at 13, he misses to the left. He hits basically a snap hook at 1, basically a snap hook at 2. I don't think he missed one to the right. Everything was left. And yet the biggest culprit and the biggest reason why he didn't win this tournament wasn't the lefts, Rick. It was the putter.
Yep.
He still, despite having the snap hooks off the tee, that may be a little aggressive. Power draws. They're big time left misses into the trees constantly. He still had 5 5 approach shots inside of 10 feet. 5 of them. 5 of them. He misses them all. He could not buy a putt on the green. And I think ultimately that's the thing that's the most frustrating for Cam Young when he looks back at this tournament, which is arguably his best chance to win one. This is the first time where I feel like Cam Young, in all the runner-up finishes that he's had, this one wasn't even a runner-up finish. But in all of those instances, this was the one he should have won.
Yeah, let me play. What's the opposite of devil's advocate? Like angels. I don't know.
I got nothing for you.
But let me put a positive spin on this. Cam Young lost 2 strokes putting on Sunday. He played the par 5s at even par. He hated everything about his game and still was very much in the mix. That to me shows how good he is, how great the firepower is, how talented he is. But dude, it was a tough watch.
Yeah, he was grumpy.
He was a grumpy cat. He was grumpy. He seemed to be just over it, out of his routine. Comparing that with Aaron Rye, who did not have the good stuff, and he stayed in routine the entire day. It was not a good look.
Yeah, this is the thing that Cam Young needs to work on, because when he's playing really well, it doesn't really seem like he rides the highs. All right, and you might say, oh well, he's stoic. Well, part of being stoic is whether it's high or low, you're the same.
Yes.
Right, and it's low today, and he's not the same.
I love this take.
He looks very different, and that's a problem. So it's one thing if you're like, let's say John Rahm or Bryson, and you wear your emotions on your sleeve, and you're upset when you're upset, and you're happy when you're happy. But we never see happy Cam Young.
Yep.
It's normal Cam Young or bad. That's not a way to do it. And he still, despite all of this, comes to number 16 at 17 under with a par 5 in front of him.
Yeah, that's true.
So like I look at him and I think he's so good and so talented. Those statistics you mentioned definitely highlight that, but so do the 7 career runner-up finishes. So does the entire career he's put on that we've watched. It all says that he's really good, and he's not getting everything he can out of it right now. But perhaps, because this is the worst version of Cam Young I've ever seen. And this is what happens when you get in contention, right? The worst version is somebody you don't see when they're missing cuts because you just don't see it. He's making the cut. He's in contention, and you see this kind of, I guess we'll call it behavior. And I think it could be a real red flag, a real highlight, and it could be the catalyst for the first time, a spark to change something that could make a huge difference. And you could see a really special career as a result.
I'm glad you mentioned this, because you can't be even keel when you only go in one direction. Patrick Cantlay is very even keel, right? If he shoots a 62 or an 82, you cannot tell the difference. You just cannot tell. But if you don't celebrate the good and you only pout when it's bad, you're just a grumpy guy.
Yes. Right. And it doesn't do anything. You're not staying in there's a tact to staying in your rhythm. I don't want to get too high because I want to stay in this place emotionally. I want to keep it within the boundaries emotionally so I can perform my best. And it's fine. It may not be the most exciting watch. It may not make you win the PIP, but it's fine. It works. It's very effective. But when the lows start to get out of the, outside the guardrails, it creates a problem. And Cam Young didn't have to be special today to win. He just needed to stay within the guardrails, and he probably wins this tournament.
Well, let me bring in somebody who I know is certainly less grumpy than Cam Young is, and that is Kyle Porter. KP, good to see you.
How we doing? I think everybody's less grumpy than Cam Young.
Yeah, you tweeted out, and I quote, "Is there a good player currently on the PGA Tour who is tougher to like than Cam Young?" What sparked that tweet?
Have you ever seen him smile playing professional golf for millions of dollars at beautiful places all over the world?
I think he almost smiled when he was playing golf for a living, making millions of dollars all over the world, and shot a 59. He thought about smiling.
That's crazy. And I think it was interesting today because you juxtapose that with Minwoo, who's like the most likable, right? He's
Electric Factory.
So electric and pulling flag sticks and making double. I mean, listen, like Cam Young is the guy that you play with who's like he's like a 15 handicap and he shoots 95 and is just pissed. And it's like, yo, dude, like you shoot 95. I might be describing myself right now. So maybe I'm Cam Young. But it's like, what do you got? This thing's hard. Like, and I actually said this on HQ. I think beyond the likability or the rootability factor is, what do you need, Greg, when you're playing tournament golf and things are going badly? You need some levity. You need a moment where you're like, hey, it's okay. Like Trevor said on the broadcast, I think he said, like, forgive yourself or have grace for whatever. Like, it's all the same concept. And I think it actually hurts the way that he performs sometimes, especially in really crucial, critical, pressure-filled moments.
You know, Jack Nicklaus always talked about that, to your point of like that one moment. Jack would always look around. He's talked about this countless times. I think it's brilliant. He'd look around and say, gee, look how much fun everybody's having. You know, like, this is fun. Yeah, I want to be here. I want to be in this moment. This is what I'm here for. And look, I don't necessarily think you have to try to be Minwoo Lee if you're not. I don't think everybody has to be smiley. I know that Cam Young he's been this way. Well, I have never seen what we saw today out of him, but he's very serious if you meet him in person. And I don't fault you for your personality, but he starts getting that waddle and starts getting that muttering going. And it just seems like a one-sided, like it's normal or bad. And there should be, if there's not going to be any good, well, then there shouldn't be any bad either. You should be like Rick said, Patrick Cantlay. It's the same all the time. I can live with that. But this definitely affected his performance today.
Yeah, I think like even Tiger was super serious, but he had moments where he would laugh or, you know, whatever. And I just feel like you never get that with Cam Young.
Yeah.
He remains winless on the PGA Tour. And so does Aaron Rai. And that was because that was a tough one. And that's because I've got
great transition.
72 strokes, even par for Rai. And Greg, we talked about this. I think it was last night. He was fairways and greens all week long. Sunday, he was not fairways and greens. 49th in driving accuracy. He only hit 8 fairways. And then he only hit 13 greens in regulation, which was tied for 33rd. So that one thing that kind of gave him a great floor throughout the week abandoned him in the biggest moment.
Yeah, I mean, I said yesterday through 14 holes in Saturday's round and the first 2 rounds of the tournament, he was playing Scheffler-like. But all of a sudden, in this round, he started losing it to the right. And like Cam Young, every tee shot he missed went left. For Aaron Rai, they all went to the right. Even the ones that found the fairway. I mean, it's really unbelievable. You look through these shot trails. It's right side of the fairway or right rough, right side of the fairway or right rough, right side. And he went to this low shot that was landing in the fairway and rolling into the rough. And it put too many shots where he had to go around a tree or had to play away from a whole location because of the situation he had off the tee. And it felt like in the first 36 holes for him and probably, you know, much of yesterday's round as well, it felt like a math problem. If I have enough shots from the fairway, some of them are going to be close. The other ones are going to be in the middle of the green. And that math problem was wiped out because he didn't have the opportunity. The best he could do was middle of the green. And as a result, he doesn't hit anything close. And he just doesn't have the ability to pile on the birdies, and he kind of starts fighting an uphill battle.
Out in 37, KP, he alternates birdies and bogeys at 10 and 11. His last non-par score was on 14. That was a birdie, and he pars out his final 4. He ends up falling 1 shot short of an eventual play, or what a potential playoff would have been.
14 was a driver off the deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That, this
that does not tell the story.
But actually, I was going to say it kind of does tell the story, because it's so it was very, very close to the water. And the shot trail has it going over the water. But yeah, he skirts it right up the edge of the fairway there.
Yeah.
Like 6 inches from being wet.
I wish we heard that conversation with the caddy. Like, just keep it right of the water. Okay. Okay.
Just draw one around that rock face there with your driver off the deck. That was insane. That was an insane shot. Yeah. I think, listen, like there were so many guys in contention down the stretch here, and in differing ways, they all kind of just had it in neutral. You got a birdie 17, but so many guys birdied 17. I don't know what it played to par on Sunday, but it seemed like everybody that was kept moving forward was birdieing 17, and it was just it really seemed like, I don't know if this is true, and you'd have to talk to each person individually. It seemed like winning this tournament really affected each individual in ways that you don't always have evidence of. Maybe that's always the case and you just don't have the evidence, but it felt like today we had evidence of each player. You're like, oh, there's pressure affecting him. Well, okay, over there on, whatever. And I got that with Rye a little bit as well.
17 played to a 4.75 or so is the easiest hole off course relative to par.
Yeah. So if you want to win, I mean, that's you gotta go get it.
27 guys made birdie or better out of 74. So more than a third of them birdied or better on 17. Now that leaves us with 2 guys, Akshay Bhatia and Cam Davis. I guess we'll kind of attack this chronologically here. The run from Cam Davis started early on Sunday. Greg, he birdies 3, 5, and 7. He makes the turn in 2 under. And like Kyle said, there's a lot of guys just stuck in neutral. Akshay gets out in 1 under. We know Cam Young's kind of spraying it all over the yard. I still, at the turn, didn't really think Cam Davis had a chance. And I thought that chance was dead when he bogeyed 14, the par 5. And he was still very much alive.
So I thought he had a chance at the turn. I thought he was going to win when his ball landed on the green on 14. And then you kept watching for a little bit, and all of a sudden it ends up in the water. And it felt like in that stretch. So he makes birdie at 7, and then you got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It just felt like during that stretch, the only thing that could happen for Cam Davis was he rolled it over the edge of the hole from long range. Yeah. Right? I mean, he had a nasty lip out at 10, a mild lip out from a mile away at 12. And it just felt like every putt he hit was so good and just wasn't going in. So it kind of was getting the feeling of a frustrating day more so than a great day for Cam Davis. And then on 14, he hits a awesome shot onto the green that just starts trickling and trickling and trickling and ends up in the water. And it's like it's not his day. He can't buy one. It's not his day.
He can't buy one. It's not his day. Akshay goes out in 1 under, but then he gets stuck on the par train. Akshay pars every hole from 8 through 17. Now, maybe I had my rose-colored glasses on, but I still felt as if Akshay was kind of in control. The speed with the putter I thought looked good. He wasn't hitting any horrific shots. I knew he still had a couple or at least one par 5 ahead for the most part of this par stretch. I still felt like this was Akshay's to lose.
I felt like that all day, right? And almost like until the very end.
I agree.
And he hit the bunker shot on, what was that, 16? 17? Yep. And you're like, okay, that's the shot that's going to get him. Like, that was, although he didn't end up making birdie, so I guess it wasn't the shot, but it was the kind of moment late in a tournament where you're like, yeah, that was it. I saw Shane Ryan tweeted it was the best long bunker shot under pressure of the entire year.
Well, maybe it was, but he didn't pay it off,
which was hilarious. Well, I think it was a Bryson reference, Rick.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Shane. Okay, Shane.
It's sneaky.
They are. I never know if he is the smartest man on the planet or the dumbest.
He doesn't either.
I told him that, and he was like, I don't know. I just fired out. It is.
That's like the best compliment I think you could pay.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I just this one's tough to look. This card. I mean, it was weird, right? Because he hits the 97-yard drive on 13, and you're like, wow, that's not good. He was kind of scrambling around the back nine, but he did enough to where you're like, okay, he got the foundation done on the first 3 days. He got his scrambling out of the way. It's there to win, and he just it was hard because I think if you look, I said this on HQ, if you look at this tournament in a vacuum for Akshay, you're like, oh, that's a huge disappointment. But it was also like a much better Sunday than he had last week in contention. So in some ways, it's kind of a step in the right direction. Although he's certainly not going to feel like that after the 3-putt on 18 to fall out of a playoff.
Yeah, Cam Davis birdies 17 and posts 18 under, while Akshay stands on the 18th tee. Greg, birdie to win, par, get yourself in a playoff. He hits 2 pretty darn good shots. He hits his approach to, I want to get the official number here, 32 feet 1 inch. That putt dries up 4 feet 3 inches short.
It's a tough situation to be in. All right, because it's way downhill. I think it was Trevor. If it wasn't Trevor, it was.
It was.
Said it's going to be slippery from up there, and that is not an easy putt going down that hill. And so the tendency on those is to be, a little more tentative, a little more cautious. And that one dried up a lot quicker than I thought. But what's so disappointing about this is heading into the final round, I thought that the difference between Akshay and everybody else was the reliability on these makeable putts. And we saw it early in the day. I mean, he made a really key par save at number 1. He made a number of really nice putts when he was scrambling around 13 after 174 mile an hour ball speed leads to a 97-yard drive. He holed a really nice putt there to save par. And those are the kind of moments that it seemed like Akshay was ready for. And on 17 and 18, he hits, in my opinion, his 2 worst putts of the whole week. The putt on 17 was
straight pull.
It was a terrible stroke, just a terrible stroke. And then he gets in a tough situation on 18 and gives it up. And so I think he can look at this and say, hey, this is not a physical issue. I have my equipment in line. I have my swing in line. Everything that I'm doing is working. I just got to figure out how to perform better in these pressure situations, which he highlighted all week. This was the moment he wanted, and he came up short this time. But I think the more that your aspirations are to handle moments like this, the more you put yourself in moments like this. I think Akshay will rebound from this.
I think the only frustrating part, Craig, is you kicked away an opportunity to win a PGA Tour event, which even if you're the best player in the world, which I don't think Akshay is, he might come close someday, but I mean, he's a very good player. Even as the best player in the world, you only get so many opportunities, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And I
never
think,
coming back.
right. And I think, Cam Davis gained Rick 12 strokes on the field, which is,
I saw that. I was going to go look up. That's got to be one of the lowest numbers in a full field event in a long time. I have a note to look that up.
Extremely low.
Yeah.
And if you're Akshay, you're just like kicking yourself because you don't get opportunities where you're in it. You haven't really played amazing, but you can still win it, right? And that's got to be the frustrating part is it was kind of still right there, and you can kind of sneak out a win. I mean, the list he could have joined today, Tiger, I think they said this on the broadcast, last 40 years, only guys to win 4 or more by excuse me. Was it 3 or more by the age of 23? Tiger, Sergio, Rory, Spieth, Tom Kim, and would have been Akshay. And that's, I mean, that, he might not get that opportunity again.
The 4-footer, even kind of getting a read from Aaron Rye, we had the word worm cam. Never had a chance. Taps it in. Cam Davis goes on to win for the second time on the PGA Tour, and he wins the Rocket Mortgage Classic for the second time. The first repeat winner. He gets the news on the driving range, and then he's pretty emotional afterwards, Greg. Amanda Balionis had him, and he, had been lamenting kind of what a struggle this entire year has been, which I can dive into here in a second. But this, you could tell, was just a massive relief, probably a bit of a surprise. Definitely moved him to some emotions.
Well, Cam Davis is a player I think we all look at, and perhaps the video of him swinging lefty highlights this, but just uber talented. And I believe he should be cemented in the top 50 in the world. He is a top 50 player in the world. Certainly a top 50 talent, if not a little better than that. Yet this season, he's 132nd in strokes gained off the tee, 123rd in strokes gained approach, 126th in strokes gained around the green, 129th in strokes gained putting. These are not performances. These are not statistical profiles that should ever be next to Cam Davis's name. So it's extremely disappointing. And I'm sure that he's not looking at the statistics, but he is looking at the finishes, and he knows how he's playing, and he knows what is leading to numbers like this. And it's frustrating. Mm-hmm. It's extremely frustrating. And he's clearly, I think this is why we see that emotion coming out. He's been working very hard to get out of, as he said, the doldrum that he was in.
Well, he was almost surprised to win, Rick. The look on his face when he won, he was like the most surprised out of anybody. It's a weird year because no top 10s in 2024, but he also had a T12 at the Masters. So I don't know. Clearly, I think he was feeling more of the no top 10s. But he's played well, like at hardcore. It's not like his game's not just non-existent. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a lot of guys in that 25 to 75 range that probably don't win as much as they think they should, just because winning is so scarce. And he's probably one guy that I would put in that category.
The best finish prior to this in 2024 was actually at the Masters. He finished 12th at the Masters. So yeah. He had 0 top 10 finishes before this win. And Greg, I always think this is a little bit interesting. Now, the international team, he has not had a good year. I feel like wins are very valued on that, in a process like that. And also, he's been on the President's Cup team before. These are the guys that always scare me a little bit for captain's picks, because I don't think you know what you're going to get out of him. If he plays okay the rest of the way, he has a couple more decent finishes, does he sneak his way onto this team?
Yeah, the hard thing about this is, well, I think he could sneak his way on this team. Because if you're a captain, you want guys with experience. You want guys with talent like Cam Davis's, right? Winning upside, you might call it. You want that on your team. Because if I put Cam Davis out in a match, I feel like he can compete with anybody. I don't feel like I'm giving away anything by putting Cam Davis out there, unless he's playing like he has been all year. So you want him on the team, but he's got to kind of prove the reasons that you already know. He's got to show you why you've wanted him on the team all along. So I do think he has a possibility. The one thing going against him is the fact that it's in Canada. And there's a lot of Canadians that are kind of sniffing around this. Like Taylor Pendergraft had a terrible week, but also won this year. So if you come down to a Taylor Pendergraft, Cam Young, well, they both have Cam Davis. They both have experience. They both won this year. And they're both super talented and long enough, and you feel confident you could put them out against anybody, and you're not giving a point away. So who do you go? Well, you go with the Canadian. I think that's working against Cam Davis, but I do think if you're Mike Weir, you're hoping that he's playing really well.
Cam Davis was 18th prior to the week starting in the International President's Cup standings. So he will move up. They use OWGR points. So he'll move up. I don't know how far he's going to move up. KP, I think he was, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was him and I want to say Siwoo that were like the only guys who played well in the last President's Cup. What wasn't Cam Davis like 2-0-1?
I thought he beat Scotty or something.
I'm pretty sure he was their top point scorer.
Okay, I've got it right here. Thursday foursomes, Siwoo and Cam Davis beat Scotty and Sam Burns 2-0.
Okay. Yep.
That was their only
one with Adam Scott as well.
It was their only point. Friday 4-ball, Spieth and JT beat Adam Scott and Cam Davis.
Okay. And he won
2-1. Sorry, say that again.
So then he must have won in singles, I think.
And then on Saturday, Siwoo and Cam Davis lost to Finau and Homa.
Oh.
But then Adam Scott and Cam Davis beat Billy Horschel and Sam Burns in the afternoon 4-ball.
Okay.
And then in singles, Cam Davis lost to Spieth.
Wow. I was
2 and 3.
I was giving him a like.
Well, no. So Siwoo got 3 points. Sung Jae got 2.5. Sebastian Munoz got 2.5, and Cam Davis, Tom Kim, KH Lee, and Adam Scott all got 2. So he was like
fine.
Good on that team.
Yeah.
I mean, for what it was.
For a losing team.
Right, exactly.
Historically, wasn't that like a historically bad loss?
I was thinking about this. I've got a question, right? And I think you're a perfect person to answer this because Cam Davis is like a strokes gained DFS hero, right? He's like in that. He's like in that. Yeah, he's like in that. There's like 5 guys, Russell Henley, like all these guys in that wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Has his career been a disappointment?
Oh, now this might be a lack of knowledge on my side. I think the answer is no, because I don't think there was a lot of expectations out of the gate, right? So the next name that came to mind for me was Aaron Wise. And Aaron Wise, I think I would say, yes, it has been a disappointment. He's dealt with a lot of stuff. He was a statistical darling. He's in a very similar way as Cam Davis, never broke through for the win. Now he's going through some stuff. He doesn't even play all that much anymore. I don't know what Cam Davis' like amateur career was or where he came out of, but he won kind of early and he was still pretty good outside of just the last 6 months. The last 6 months have been horrible. And outside of that, I think he's been pretty good. And now he just snaps off and wins. So no, I don't think he's been a disappointment at all.
How old is he? 20.
Oh boy.
9?
27, 29, something like that.
29.
Okay. Honestly, he feels a little Australian Cam Youngie? Is that a terrible comp?
Well, yeah, because he's got 2 wins.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. But I just mean from a profile and like a strokes, like all that stuff.
Yeah, just like a super raw talented, knocks the cover off the ball, goes through stretches where he might be lost at golf.
Well, yeah, and I think I thought you're probably right. Like in the grand scheme, it's not a disappointment. I think I presumed at some point when you watch him, you're like, this is like 2021 when he won here. You're like, this is sick. Like this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this is top 15 is like the next leap up. And he just never really, it almost went the other way, right? And so that's my only counter. But again, he's not even 30 yet, so that could still happen.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm just kind of scrolling through his profile. He came up, he played on the Corn Ferry one at least once. I am kind of looking through this. He probably went through a couple of prolonged stretches that were either longer or worse than I thought. And he's got a bunch of, I mean, this is very volatile, Greg. It's a lot. I mean, he finished like T4 at a PGA championship. He had,
yeah, that was last year, wasn't it? Oak Hill.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's got 2 wins. Now they're both at the same golf course, which is like the best golf course on planet Earth for him. It is weird. It's definitely a weird profile.
I agree.
I'm not sure that it's a disappointment. I tend to agree with Rick. I don't think there was a lot of expectation on him. I think he could be, better than he is. I definitely think that's a possibility. But I don't think that he was like a star that should have been a star. I think it's kind of cool that he's here and won on the PGA Tour. I'd like to see more consistency out of him. I certainly look at him and think, like you said, Kyle, this guy is so good. And I think what you get out of it is, I think he's pretty right on my expectation in a strange way.
Okay.
Like when he's playing well, he plays great.
Yeah, and maybe I'm making up expectations because I just thought the ceiling once he won at 25 or 6 or whatever that was, like, okay, this is the start of like a trajectory, and then it's been more like, like this than linear.
I also think it's interesting, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't think he was ready for that President's Cup team, and he was thrust onto it because they lost Joaquin Neiman to live. They lost. I mean, who else did they lose? Remember
Louis Oosthuizen?
Yeah.
Yes. And
I think there was one other too, maybe.
I think there was another as well. I thought there was Mito. Yeah, that sounds right. So that extended the bench of and I'm not sure he was ready for that. And I think once you get onto an international team, it does kind of alter expectations, but that was just a very, very, very unique situation in our sport.
That's a great point.
Cam Smith is the other big one that we forgot. The chat helped us there.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like, so those 4 guys or whatever. Mito might have played in the President's Cup, but yeah,
okay.
Cam Smith was the big one.
Here's one. Who ends with a better career, Cam Smith or Cam Davis?
Ah, man, come on. It has to be Cam Smith.
Yeah, I don't know if Cam Davis ends up with a major.
Even if Cam Smith never wins anything again, he's an Open champion.
Yeah, but okay. So so you were saying, Rick, Cam Davis is never going to win a major.
Yes, but in Cam Davis's defense, I would say that about like 99% of all golfers that you would present to me in this scenario.
True. Cam Smith's career has been okay, it's been good. I think the 2022 Open's doing a lot of work there.
Oh yeah, I agree.
He won the Players.
He did win the Players. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was good. Okay, you're right.
The Players of the Open versus 2 Rocket Mortgage.
Well, I'm not okay.
It's tight.
Hold on. Rick's acting like I'm saying right now. That was not the question. That's a misrepresentation of my word. You sound like my wife right now, misrepresenting my words.
But in a very funny way.
That's
For sure. Yeah. I did forget about the players. That was big time.
Is there anything else? Rocket Mortgage, Cam Davis, Akshay, like anything else from this event that we should talk about?
I'm not saying we have to talk about this, but I love the fact that this event is the launching pad for the next generation. I think getting to watch Luke Clanton and Neil Shipley, Miles Russell, Ben James, getting to see this young crowd, especially early in the tournament, I thought added a lot.
Yep.
And it was cool to compare that to Akshay, who's, younger than all those guys.
Well, I the thing that stood out to me, Greg, I'm glad you brought this up. Obviously, Miles Russell being 15 and shooting even is nuts. Yeah. I know he didn't make the cut, but he's like 5 years older than my son, who is like, grounding out to short in tournament baseball games. If he ever listens to this, you played great, buddy.
He's not listening to this.
No. I don't know.
Definitely not 48 minutes in.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that stood out to me, I actually wrote about this very briefly in my recap, was Nick Dunlap and Neil Shipley played for the USAM less than a year ago, and they were both in the top 20 this week. That's pretty crazy.
Neil Shipley might be really good.
But the crazy thing is he's not like his pedigree is like, it's okay. I think he transferred from, I don't know, I'm going to get this wrong. I think West Virginia to Ohio State. Like he wasn't Nick Dunlap growing up, basically. But he's been awesome over the last 2 years, basically.
Yeah.
It's cool to watch somebody sort of make the leap and develop in real time. Because somebody like Dunlap, you're like, of course, like this has always been the trajectory. He's always been elite. But Dunlap or Shipley has not. And so I do think it's very cool to see.
Okay, we are going to recap the best bets. We are going to update the one and done, but I do actually need maybe some of the numbers. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and we are going to hear a word from our partners.
At CBS Sports Golazo Network, we're bringing you the game.
Madness of Messi arrives!
Breaking down the game.
This is unlike anything else in the world.
And changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa.
And all day long!
24/7.
And we're back. Quick question from the chat. Better career Gary player or Eric Van Rooyen?
That's so stupid.
That got me. That's
Kyle's the only one who can answer that.
That's actually hilarious. That got me good. The bets for the week. So Harry, how about the next one, the full grid?
Yeah, how about not this one?
Let's see that one. We'll start there. There we go. Beautiful. There's some green here. Patrick had Akshay over Cam Young. It was tight.
Down to the wire.
It was tight, but it cashed. He also had Davis Thompson top 10 at 4-1. Davis Thompson, also the real deal. He finished T2 in at 17 under par. KP, Minwoo Lee over Tom Kim. No sweat there. And then look at you little European, just.
Where are you going with that, Rick?
European. I couldn't think of the word. Handicapper is the word I could not.
Yeah, baby. 65 from my guy, Tommy Mack.
Tom McKibb, top 10. He went to a playoff.
Yeah, he almost won.
Yeah, he lost.
And then I was trying to pull off the who was it, Patrick, that always tries to get the 4 for 4 on here?
The perfect grid.
Yeah, the Wendy's 4 for 4. The perfect.
Yeah, I need it. Cam Young kind of had me. Well, Patrick Reed didn't do anything, but
yeah, you were. I mean, listen, the perfect grid's hard to do. You were mostly live here.
Yeah,
pretty
in it.
Greg, you were.
Oh, this is painful.
Yeah, this is tough. Minwoo was one of your outrights. That was 20-1. That obviously did not come through. Matt Wallace, who I also liked this week, didn't play well. He missed the cut. So we'll have to get back at this next week.
This was killer. Because I was thinking about this too. The list that Kyle and I put together on Monday, I think did pretty well. But what I ended up deciding on for the betting card completely flopped. So that it was killer because I'm like, I'm on it this week. I got it figured out. Shut out. Completely shut out.
Well, the list we put together on Monday was like, I think we just named everybody in the field, Greg.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys. It's like what 25 or 30 guys we named, something like that. But a lot of good ones.
If you're just getting into media, this is the game. You just mention everybody, and then you can pull the clip, and you're like, look at me, a genius handicapper, European handicapper.
Talked about him on Monday. That's what we always say. We said horrible things about him, but okay. Harry, how about that best bets card, which is disastrously?
Oh my gosh.
Patrick anytime Patrick abandons his strategy, which it wouldn't have worked this week, but he should always just be picking the favorite. He did.
I thought he's going to pick Scheffler to win this week too.
Yeah. All right. Well, take an advance and put down his 50 on Scheffler to win the Open or something. So he had Alex Noren to win. That did not come through. Kyle, this is officially a loss for you.
Yeah.
So it was Will Zalatoris to miss the cut. He made the cut, started the third round, withdrew. I don't think we were able to chat with you about Zalatoris, but that's not great, it feels like.
I saw back, hip. I saw a bunch of different things. I think broadly, like, I don't want to get steep on like what his spine is doing, but it's a pattern, right? Where if you're 27 and there's a pattern of different things, I don't care if they're related or not. It's just like, staying healthy is part of the deal, like Rory's career, DJ's career, Phil's career. Phil's like to stay like the thing that Phil's done better than Tiger is stay healthy, right? And that's given him an opportunity to win a bunch. And Zalatoris is just struggling with that right now.
Taylor Pedrith top 20, no, and then Marks to make the cut parlay. Yeah, Keith Mitchell got him. It was Aaron Ride, Davis Thompson, Will Zalatoris, Keith Mitchell. Keith Mitchell missed the cut on the number, I believe. Yeah, 4 under. 4 under got in. He was 3.
Yeah, I think he lost painful. Like 5 strokes putting.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
that is what he does. Now, the one and done. God, so annoying. Don't me. Minwoo backdoors a runner-up finish for both Kyle and Greg. 616,000. 4-way tie for second. I had Akshay who loses me $1 million on that 4-footer.
I'm gonna catch 3 of y'all in the next month.
Probably.
Keep picking with me, KP. We got the 2 times we've picked together. We got to win, which is a major. At a T2.
I think we got the biggest number of the year, right? U.S. Open was bigger than Players.
No, I don't think so, but close.
Okay. Oh, Players was probably 4.5.
Yeah. Yep.
If we talk through this, can you quickly look up the smallest total strokes gained to win an event in the last 2 years?
I have it. It is actually.
Well, we can finish going through the one and done. I didn't mean to.
Sorry, you were going to derail me because
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Josh had Taylor Pendrith. That was like 18,000. Mark had Cam Young, which that T6 dropped him to 300,000. Patrick had Alex Noren. So Greg continues his good run. And Greg is now, I don't know if this is updated on Run Your Pool. Greg, is this the same number you had last week?
Yeah, that's the same.
Okay, so you were in 6th entering the week. You got T2 money. I think you're still going to be doing pretty good.
I doubt anybody had Cam Davis. I was a little worried if it was Akshay, not because of you, Rick. I'm not rooting against you, but I figured one of the leaders probably had Akshay. So I don't think I lost any ground, but I still got a lot to make up.
Hey, you guys know who low key should have won this tournament?
Minwoo Lee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe by 3.
Yeah. I
Greg-
mean, the double on 7 and then the bogey at the last were just.
Greg rattled off every horrible mistake he made.
Didn't he hit?
And was like, well, how did he not win by 15?
Didn't he? It was like Tiger at Pebble. Didn't he hit a ball like off the property on Saturday?
No, he hit a ball out of bounds on Friday. On number
Friday.
Yeah, 8. There were only 2 doubles all week on 8. He made one. Hitting it OB. He 3-putted from 6 feet today.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he missed a 4-footer on 12.
He had on 7 today. He was hitting his 4th from 28 feet.
Yeah, just in front of the green.
And he made a 7.
Yeah. I will say the bogey on 18, I don't necessarily blame. I think he probably felt like we all did, like 18 wasn't enough. So I think he was probably pressing for birdie there, but it's those other mistakes that cost him and us dearly, gravely. What did Minwoo and Akshay win?
600,000.
Okay. I mean, what's crazy about the money now is 600 is like probably
Chump
what you
game.
have to average, or less than what you have to average.
Yeah, it stinks.
It's nothing.
And so you're like, well, unless you win, it doesn't really do a ton.
I was even looking up how much I'd move up with 1.6 million, and it's not even that much. Nothing. Just nothing. You have to win the big ones. These are I'm not like, this was the quickest napkin search I ever did. So
All I want, yeah.
PGA Tour winners that have gained like less than 12 and a half strokes on the field. Steven Yeager did it this year in Houston. He gained 12.05. Then you get into some wonky ones like Wyndham Clark at Pebble Beach. That was only 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Grayson Murray at the Sony Open, 11.75.
That was against Keegan and who else was in that? Somebody else was.
You get a bunch of small field events like the Century, the Hero World Challenge. How about I guess that's a small field too. Lucas Glover, last year's FedEx St. Jude, he gained 9.5.
Wow.
That's only, however many guys are in that.
But that's
70, that's 70 guys.
Yeah. That's small.
Jordan Spieth at the 2022 RBC Heritage. Was that a signature event in 22?
No.
They hadn't been signatured yet.
That's when he was in a play. Was it a playoff?
Cantlay. Yeah.
Yeah.
10.8.
Easter Sunday.
Yeah. Playoffs, usually they're in playoffs because, the number stops counting, right? And so a lot of these wins are in playoffs with small numbers.
I mean, those are really, like, to give people an idea, it's usually 14, 15 plus. And then you get into the 20s, and those are pretty historic going the other way. Tiger at Pebble in 2000 was, I think, gained 30 strokes on the field, which is wild. It's
So
like 8 a day.
There's not a lot of these, and especially for full field events and all that stuff. So,
yeah. So that like all those guys at the top are like, like just, if you go get beat, it's like, okay, man, like, I don't know, whatever. That guy was just awesome this week. But if you get beat by 12 strokes gained, that's just a number that you're kind of mad about.
And it kind of passes the sniff test too, because it felt like all of those guys left strokes out there and could have easily have run away with this thing.
Yeah. Yep. Minwoo, Akshay, Cam Young, and probably Aaron Rye all feel like they should have won by 5.
Right.
Yeah, like not maybe Aaron Rye feels like he should have won by 2. Everybody else should have won significantly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I want to see Aaron Rye's text. Should have won by 2.
Next week, Silvis, the John Deere Classic. Vroom,
The
vroom.
fifth major.
There we go. And we'll be here to cover it all week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and allegedly a live network cut sweat show on Friday.
I'll be on it. I haven't been on that one yet.
I just learned about that. It's fun. It's very. I was really gonna play it up. I was gonna say it's like NFL Red Zone, but it's it's
It's very live.
It's very live.
Great.
And
Do we get to watch shots at all?
No.
I love watching shots. I think that's fun.
You get to listen to me talk about the shots, describe them.
You should draw them.
You're listening to shots.
Yeah, I'm calling them. It's great. Okay, good job, boys. We will be back on Monday and get this party started again. Big thanks. Producer Harry doing all the hard work behind the scenes. That is Greg DuCharme. You can find him at The Real GFD. That is Kyle Porter. You can find him at Kyle Porter CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.